Improving and supporting mitochondrial health is definitely something that we talk about a lot on this show. It was the key to me getting pregnant in my 40s and has been the key to continuing to age well or gracefully. And so I'm always interested to hear differing points of view when it comes to how people can support their mitochondria. So today I have Catharine from EnergyBits on to talk about algae, which is something we've never talked about here on the show. And I think you're going to enjoy the conversation and learning a little bit more about how your body works at the cellular level. Now, Catharine has a really interesting story of how she almost lost her sister to breast cancer and how that made her dive deeper into this research and different ways that she could help people support themselves along their health journeys. So we talk about different ways that algae in particular can differ from what you get at a Costco versus buying it raw, and how it actually supports your body on a cellular level. Now, if you're interested in any of the products that Catharine talks about, then you can use the code SarahK to save over at the EnergyBits website. All that information will be down in the show notes for you. But if you're not ready to get any products and you just want to learn how this works and how it could be a strategy that is supportive of your mitochondria, then keep listening. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Evolving Wellness Podcast. My name is Sarah, and today we are going to talk all about the mitochondria and how algae fits into the equation, because that's something that I think a lot of people maybe have heard about, but there's maybe some misinformation out there about algae as well. Maybe we can clear up some of that. So, Catharine, thank you so much for being here today.
You bet. Yeah, I've got 14 years of research on algae nutrition under my belt. And in fact, I just finished writing my exams for my PhD, and I got a little bit more coursework to do, but because I want people to feel comfortable that I know my stuff. And who wants to spend their weekends digging into PubMed? Well, apparently I did, but I'm here to share the knowledge so that you don't have to, and you can still gain all the benefits, because algae is, and my company EnergyBits, that's what we sell, are algae tablets. And we'll get into the different types of algae and what they do, because they have completely different nutrient profiles and do completely different things in your body for different parts of your body. But there is a lot of confusion and misinformation on the internet. So I'm very excited to help clear that up for people.
Yeah, absolutely. So just so people understand, how could algae support the mitochondria in the first place? I talk a lot about mitochondria and the lifestyle needing to be on point, light signaling, stress, all of that, and how crucial that is. But there is definitely a nutritive component to supporting
Oh,
the mitochondria as
big time,
well.
big time.
Yeah.
Well, maybe if it's okay with you, what I could do is start with explaining what algae is,
Yeah, let's do that. That's probably better.
and then go into the different types, because excuse me, one of the microalgae, which is spirulina, is particularly helpful for the mitochondria, and so it's different from the other algae we'll talk about, which is Chlorella. So first of all, algae was the original life on Earth almost 4 billion years ago, and I can later on I will show you the science that proves that your mitochondria, you'll love this, actually evolved directly from algae, cyanobacteria, like which spirulina is. Spirulina algae is not even a plant, it is a bacteria. But anyways, not just the first plant on Earth, first life on Earth. So, and it's still here 4 billion years later. So something special about algae, especially the spirulina. I call it actually spiritualina, because you can only be the first life once. So pretty special. And then algae is its own food category. It's technically not a plant. It's definitely not a fruit. It's not an animal. So it is its own food category. Same like mushrooms are its own food category. Within algae as a food category, there are two subcategories. One is called macroalgae, and the other one is called microalgae. We're going to be talking about microalgae today, but let me explain what macroalgae is and how it is so different from microalgae. So macroalgae is that big stringy stuff that you see washing up on shore, also known as seaweed, dulse, or kelp. It's all the same word for the same thing. I know it mostly as seaweed, and it's called seaweed because it's only in the sea. It's only in the ocean. It doesn't exist in other places like microalgae is when I get to it. Now, macroalgae, seaweed, is still good for you because it has lots of fiber, and iodine because it comes from the ocean. Iodine, like the iodine could be a good thing or a bad thing depending on what your health situation is. But what you need to know about macroalgae seaweed is it has virtually zero nutrition. Lots of fiber, zero nutrition. This is completely opposite to microalgae. Microalgae is microscopic. It's called microalgae because it's microscopic. You can get like 1,000,000 microscopic cells on the head of a pin. That's how tiny it is. You can't see it with your eye. And completely opposite to macroalgae, it has either no fiber or virtually no fiber. As I mentioned, spirulina has zero fiber because it's a bacteria. Chlorella, which is the other algae, green algae, has a little bit of fiber. So virtually no fiber or no fiber, and is the most nutrient-dense food in the universe. Even NASA says that 1 gram of algae has 1,000 times more nutrition than any other fruit or vegetable. So 1,000 times more nutritious than anything, certainly more than macroalgae, the seaweed stuff. The other thing with microalgae is, unlike seaweed, which is only in the sea, microalgae is everywhere. It's in the sea, but it's also in the rivers, the lakes, the streams, the soil, and your aquarium, your swimming pool. And what you need to know is that in Asia, it's not really grown here in America. This is why most people don't know about it. In Asia, it is harvested as a food crop. These are pictures of, I'm showing you pictures of two types of algae farms. This is a spirulina farm. This is a chlorella farm. So whether you buy, and spirulina and chlorella are two types of microalgae, and we're going to dig into the different characteristics of the two of them. But they are both microalgae. Spirulina is one type of blue-green algae. Chlorella is one type of green algae. Because with macroalgae, which I didn't mention, there's only a handful of different strains. There's red and green. With microalgae, there's tens of thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands of strains of microalgae. One strain of microalgae is blue-green algae. And spirulina is one type of blue-green algae. One strain of microalgae is green algae, and chlorella is one type of green algae. Just like with apples as a category, you might have Macintosh, you might have green apples. So they are subcategories of the area called apples. With blue-green algae, spirulina is just one, excuse me, strain of it. And the reason I want to point that out is because lots of people go online and they read about a blue-green algae closing their favorite beach, and they get all panicky and think, oh my God, the spirulina that I'm taking must be toxic. No, that is another strain of blue-green algae. Spirulina and chlorella are really the only two types of algae that are harvested as food crops, and they are multi-billion-dollar agricultural crops in Asia. Billion. They are as big as the beef industry is here. This is why I get so excited, because algae has been used for centuries, and it's been grown and used daily in Japan, Taiwan, Korea, India, where it's a multi-billion-dollar agricultural crop. Algae tablets are not a supplement. They are a food. But because it's not grown here in America, people just don't know about it, and they think it's weird, and it's not weird at all. It's just that nobody explained it to you. So that's the biggest difference between spirulina or microalgae and macroalgae, is that microalgae is the most nutrient-dense food in the world, has nutrients not found in any other food, has nutrients that your body stops making after the age of 30, particularly an important one we'll talk about called superoxide dismutase, which protects your mitochondria from free radical damage. So it's very, very, very important. It also, spirulina also has a pigment in it. It's called a blue-green algae because it has two pigments. The blue one is called phycocyanin, and I'll spell that for you later. And it is proven to kill cancer cells, and that's pretty important. So you can see now microalgae is so amazing, and it's a food, but we don't know about it because it's, people just aren't familiar with it here in America. So we grow it, ours in Taiwan, which is world renowned for having the highest standard of algae. So we grow it in Taiwan in triple filtered spring mountain water. Then we dry it into a powder without high heat, which is very important because high heat over the temperature of 114 degrees kills because all enzymes, including that one called superoxide dismutase, which is not just an antioxidant, but it's also an enzyme. And then we press them into these little tablets that we call bits because they're bits of food. There is nothing else in them. They're about the size of a baby aspirin. I'm holding up two tins. You can see one is darker than the other one. The darker one is spirulina. That's the blue-green algae. And chlorella is the second pigment in addition to the blue phycocyanin is chlorophyll. Chlorella algae only has the chlorophyll as the pigment, so they're quite different. So they're so nutrient dense that one of these tablets, which is about the size of a baby aspirin, has the same nutrition as an entire plate of vegetables. And the reason why I need to let people understand this is because, I started the company almost 15 years ago as a result of my younger sister having breast cancer. Her oncologist told her to change her diet to an alkaline diet. They didn't tell her what it was. And why it was good for her. So she called me her big sister, and I knew nothing about nutrition, but of course I love my sister. I dug into the research and found out that an alkaline diet is very helpful because it's mostly a plant-based diet. And the plants have phytonutrients and chlorophyll that have been proven to build your immune system. And alkaline foods make sure that your cells are slightly alkaline. There's a German scientist by the name of Otto Warburg who won a Nobel Prize in the 30s. He was a German scientist for discovering that cancer cannot exist in cells that are slightly alkaline. And the scale goes from 0 to 14. So slightly alkaline means it needs to be about 7.1. So that's why my sister's oncologist, an oncologist is a cancer specialist, wanted her to have this alkaline diet to A, build her immune system so she could withstand the chemo, and B, make sure her cells were slightly alkaline to prevent further development of cancer. She did go through the treatment, and 14 years later, she's still cancer-free. But in the process of helping her, I learned about plant-based nutrition and alkaline diets. I gave up my 25-year corporate career, went back to school, studied nutrition, got a health coaching certificate. And then I taught nutrition, plant-based nutrition, for a year at companies and hospitals. And this is what led me to algae, because this is a long way of explaining about why it's so important that one of those tablets has the same nutrition as an entire plate of vegetables. As I was teaching people to eat more vegetables and the importance of it, I got so much pushback because people said, "Oh, I know I'm supposed to eat vegetables, but they're hard to digest, or my kids won't eat them, or I throw them out, or it's too much work, and they're too expensive. I don't live near a grocery store." 1,000 reasons why people weren't eating vegetables. And as you get older, by the way, you have fewer digestive enzymes, which makes them hard to digest anyways. So I went back to the drawing board and just looked at everything I'd found for my sister. And that's when I got to algae, I found out it was the most alkaline food in the world, most nutrient-dense food in the world. There's 100,000 studies documenting the health benefits of algae, that none of which have been shared with the public in North America, used safely in Asia for the last 60 years, multi-billion-dollar agricultural crop there, but nobody knows about it. So that's what began my journey into helping people understand what algae is. And I'm so excited to tell you about some of the particular nutrients that have been proven in tens of thousands of studies to heal the mitochondria, because that's where the rubber hits the road. When your mitochondria are damaged, that's when the wheels fall off. That's when you have brain fog. That's when you have hormonal disruption. That's when you have sleep issues. Everything happens poorly because of mitochondrial damage, because they're the ones that create cellular energy. And cellular energy for your body is like electricity. You don't have any electricity, your lights are off.
Right. Yeah, I
I know that was a
definitely
big
talk
brain
about
dump.
that.
Sorry about
Oh no,
that.
that's all good. Yeah, there's a lot there to unpack, because we've talked a little bit about alkaline here on the show. So definitely, I would recommend people, if you want to dive more into that topic, look at the podcast I did with Dr. Tyler LeBaron, and we talked about that as well. Um, but as far as supporting the mitochondria through a nutritive lens, this could be helpful for people, because yeah, we talk again about mitochondria here a lot on the channel and the show, and how crucial those are. I think it's like 70. Dr. Doug Wallace is who I really look at. I don't know if you've studied his work at all,
No.
but he essentially says that you have to have about 70% of your mitochondria being dysfunctional in order for you to start even having symptoms and disease states manifesting. So
Yeah.
there's been a lot of dysfunction happening for a while with people before they even know that it's an issue.
Yeah.
So, we
And
talk again about lifestyle that we can do here on the show, but the nutrition piece, I think, might sometimes get past people. So maybe we can talk about specifically how this does
sure.
support the mitochondria.
Oh, it's essential. And just on that note about the 70% before symptoms start showing up, he's absolutely right. And this is when we all hear about inflammation being so damaging.
Mhm.
The 90% of the inflammation is occurring in the mitochondria. And this is why they call inflammation the silent killer, because
Right.
it's going on and you have no symptoms. It could be 10 years before symptoms even start manifesting.
Mhm.
And then you have to unravel all the damage that's occurred. So people think, oh, I'm not going to start worrying about my mitochondria till I'm 50 or 60. No, you want to start being proactive to protect what you have in your 20s. Because as you're going to find out as I go through this, by the time you hit your 30s, your body stops producing some very important nutrients that protect your mitochondria up until the 30s. And after 30s, like a lot of nutrients, a lot of things like hormones and melatonin, it slows down until it virtually has none. And that's when the damage really accelerates. But you can prevent it if you ensure that your body is getting these nutrients that protect you. And unfortunately, they're not found in most food or any food except algae. So let me help you understand what's going on at the cellular level, and then we'll talk about the particular nutrients in algae, and I'll walk you through the pathways that are actually happening at the cellular level. So I like to show people this picture. This is your cell, and inside your cell, you have your nucleus and you have a whole bunch of other stuff, but you also have these mitochondria. And inside the mitochondria, this is where that cellular energy is produced, called ATP. But what most people don't know is that a byproduct of ATP are free radicals. You need ATP, you need cellular energy to live. Cellular energy is necessary for absolutely everything: walking, talking, thinking, breathing, heartbeat, lymphatic system, hormones, digestion, everything. Think of cellular energy as money. When you have more money, you can do more things and you have more choices. If you have less money, you can do less and you have fewer choices. Same thing with your body. If you don't have enough cellular energy, your brain isn't getting enough cellular energy, your lymphatic system isn't getting enough, your immune system isn't getting enough. So nothing works optimally, nothing. So, and think of and mitochondria are what generate all that cellular energy. So if you want to understand this whole concept of mitochondria, think of your body, compare it to like a new office tower. Now, in an office tower, you have offices, and that's where the work is done. And in your body, you have cells, and that's where the work is done. In the office, the thing that allows work to be done are the lights. And in your body, in your cells, what allows the work to be done are the mitochondria. So think of the mitochondria as the light bulbs that keep the work going. Now, it gets a little more confusing because in the office, when the light bulbs go out, maintenance just comes and repair them. But in your body, as the mitochondria die, there's no maintenance people. And unless you have the proper nutrients that prevent the lights from going out or that can bring the lights back on, you hit a downward spiral of decreased energy. And the interesting thing is the mitochondria are not just the light bulbs, they're also the electricity. In the building, you have the electricity. So it's very, very, very difficult and damaging when your mitochondria die, because literally the electricity that's keeping your body alive is deteriorating and stopping. So, and they're so important because these mitochondria that generate all the cellular energy, there are different quantities in different body parts. So the highest concentration of mitochondria are in your cells in your brain. There are 2 million mitochondria per cell in your brain. The next highest are women's eggs. There's about 800,000 per cell. The next after that is your heart. There's about 6,000 to 8,000 per cell. And after that, it's your muscles, which are about 5,000. And skin and fat are about 1,000, not very much. So the highest concentration of mitochondria are where the greatest energy needs are, and your brain needs the most. So when you restore your mitochondria, one of the things that comes back first is your brain. Your brain fog is gone. We work with Alzheimer's patients, and they're thinking. And we did our own clinical trial with people at some veterans that had post-traumatic stress disorder, and after 30 days of just taking 30 tablets of spirulina, all the brain inflammation was gone because we did brain scans beforehand. So this stuff works, and I'm going to explain to you what the nutrients are in spirulina in particular that are making all this correction to the mitochondria. So here again, back to the cell, the mitochondria is where the energy is being created through the production of ATP, and a byproduct of ATP are free radicals. Now, maybe you've heard, I don't know, but your mitochondria have their own DNA. And those DNA are located exactly inside the mitochondria, exactly where the free radicals are being produced. So your mitochondria DNA are being fried by free radicals every single nanosecond. And the DNA of your mitochondria, and there's only 37 compared to 22,000 of your regular DNA, your mitochondrial DNA control everything in your body. They control your regular DNA, they control cellular communication. So when they get damaged or they die, everything fails to work properly. So this is why it's so important to protect your mitochondria from free radical damage. Now, and I'm going to walk you through what's really going on in a minute at a more technical level, which is called the electronic transport chain, which is where the actual cellular energy is being created. But here's the great thing. So, well, let me mention one more thing. So most people know that free radicals are a molecule with an unpaired electron. And if you don't neutralize that unpaired electron by antioxidants are known for having extra electrons that they donate to the free radical to neutralize it so it's not damaging, because it would steal an electron from another molecule, which causes tissue damage, and then that one would be unbalanced, and then it steals another electron. So that's what happens with free radicals, is you get all this tissue damage because of the stealing of an electron from another molecule. Antioxidants have extra molecules that they can donate. But the problem is your mitochondria have an inner membrane. All of the cells in your body have a cellular membrane, a lipid membrane. So does the mitochondria. But your mitochondria have a second membrane on the inside that is impenetrable by most antioxidants. Vitamin C can't get in there. Vitamin E can't get in there. Drugs can't get in there. There are only a handful of antioxidants that can get in there. Glutathione, chlorophyll, and the most important one is called superoxide dismutase. Now, why is superoxide dismutase the most important one? Because the type of free radical that is produced in the inside the production of ATP is called superoxide. And the reason why it's so damaging is that most antioxidants have one unpaired electron. Superoxide has three, so it's 3 times as damaging. So this antioxidant called superoxide dismutase is the most powerful antioxidant to neutralize that damaging free radical that is released during ATP production. Now, here's the good news. Your body, Mother Nature, God bless her, your body produces this thing called superoxide dismutase, also known as SOD, from the moment you're born. So your little mitochondria are protected. Think of superoxide dismutase like a big golf umbrella. So the free radicals are being produced as part of ATP. It's okay, but you've got this big golf umbrella called superoxide dismutase. So, and if you're in a rainstorm and you got one of those big golf umbrellas, you're protected. It's like having a roof over your head because it's raining. Yes, it's raining, but you're not getting wet. So this stuff called superoxide dismutase, which your body creates for you, is like having a big golf umbrella. It protects the mitochondria so that they don't get damaged by the free radicals. Because what it does is it turns the free radicals into harmless water. But as you age, your body creates less of this stuff. So by 30, you start slowing down the production of it. By the time you're 40 and certainly 50 and later, you have 0 superoxide dismutase. What's going on? That big golf umbrella that you had that was protecting you is after about the age of 30 or 40 is about the size of a totes city umbrella. A lot of the free radicals are getting through now because you don't have the same protection. By the time you're 40, it's about the size of a cocktail umbrella, which gives you 0 protection. This is my belief why chronic disease, aging, weight gain, brain fog starts hitting us, particularly women after the age of 40, because we no longer have that protection of superoxide dismutase that we had all of our life until about 30. And why is 30 the magic number? You'll find out that there's so many nutrients that slow down in their production after the age of 30. Hormones, melatonin, and superoxide dismutase is another one. And here's why. We have been living for 2 million years. Evolutionarily, up until the last 150 years ago, we died at 30. Our biology thinks we're dying at 30. And evolutionarily, we're never going to catch up because our lifestyle and our drug system and everything that's happening in the last 150 years is allowing us to live longer. But our biology hasn't caught up, and it's not going to. So you're stuck with the situation that at 30, your production of superoxide dismutase slows, and by 40, it's virtually gone. And here's the problem. You can't get superoxide dismutase in foods. Cabbage has the minuscule amount, so does broccoli, but you can find it in algae, both spirulina and chlorella, particularly spirulina, which has even more. And the great thing about spirulina and this nutrient superoxide dismutase is that spirulina is not even a plant, it's a bacteria. So it gets absorbed into your bloodstream almost instantly. So all the superoxide dismutase can be directed to your cells, into the mitochondria, and go to work instantly. And it works. And this is one of the reasons why it restores the mitochondria, and things like your inflammation go down, why your mitochondria. We're doing a clinical trial right now with a company called MeScreen. They have a device or a blood test that tests your markers of your health of your mitochondria. So we tested people's mitochondria. They're now taking spirulina for 30 days, and then we're going to do another mitochondria test. And I can almost promise you those mitochondria are going to be back in full force after just 30 days because of this access now to the superoxide dismutase, which protects them so they can be restored, so they can grow back again, because everything in your body is able to grow back, everything, but you have to give it what it needs in order for that to happen. And most people aren't getting the nutrition that they need, which spirulina fills all those nutritional gaps, not just the superoxide dismutase. And then chlorella, which we'll talk about in a minute, pulls out toxins, because the other problem is we have so many toxins. The average person has 700 in their body, and toxins lodge into your cell membrane. They cause all sorts of hormonal disruption, digestive disruption. And so between the two algae, like I said, spirulina is very nourishing and heals the mitochondria, and chlorella is very healing and pulls out toxins and is really good for your gut. But this access to superoxide dismutase is so critical to the life of your mitochondria and protecting your mitochondria. And most people have never heard of superoxide dismutase, and they are just slowly learning about mitochondria. So the fact that this is a nutrient that isn't available in any other food, and by the way, there are 25,000 scientific papers proving that superoxide dismutase prevents inflammation, prevents Alzheimer's, prevents heart disease. It's endless how much research is available about superoxide dismutase, but the world doesn't know that it's in high concentrations in spirulina. But there's a caveat. Superoxide dismutase is also an enzyme. And so enzymes are killed by high heat. And virtually all of the other lower quality algae companies that need to get to market quickly because they're high volume producers, they use high heat to dry their algae. That deactivates the superoxide dismutase. This is why I want to be sure people knew that with us at EnergyBits, we don't use high heat. So our superoxide dismutase is alive and well and can get to your mitochondria to restore them, protect them, and help you gain back your health and and protect your longevity. The other way you could get active superoxide dismutase is through raw or fresh spirulina, and this is why places like the Hippocrates Institute and the Gershon Institute, which are two very well-known, respected healing centers. Hippocrates Institute in Palm Beach has been around for 50 years, and they take cancer patients that are stage 3 and stage 4, and one of the main things they do is give them fresh spirulina. Why? Because it has this active superoxide dismutase, as well as another nutrient I want to tell you about that's in spirulina called phycocyanin, that blue pigment, which is also proven to kill cancer cells. So, and they want to work with us because we're one of the few companies that have raw spirulina, which means our superoxide dismutase and the blue pigment have been not damaged by high heat. So you can go to Target and Whole Foods and Costco and buy spirulina and chlorella, and you'll still get some protein and you'll still get some benefits. But I can almost promise you the superoxide dismutase and the blue phycocyanin, which I'll talk about in a minute, very, very important for your mitochondria, are pretty much probably deactivated. So you're not going to enjoy that benefit.
Yeah, that's the problem. I think it's kind of a similar issue with some fish oil. supplements is that it's moved out of the correct position, so your mitochondria can't utilize it as well. And so that's important with any kind of, I think, nutritional supplement or support that you're going to use, is to understand there's a big difference, I would say 100% of the time, from getting something at your Walmart or your Costco than there is at getting something really high quality, that
Yeah.
there's some checks and balances to make
Yeah.
sure that it is. Yeah, absolutely.
And I encourage people not to take fish oil. By the time you
Yeah,
get it,
me
it's
too.
rancid. It's
Agree.
which means it's inflammatory. You're supposed to be taking it for anti-inflammatory. And I remind people, where do you think the fish get the omega-3 from? They get it from algae that's in the ocean. So they just consolidate in their body, but it never goes rancid in algae. And I really try to emphasize for people, when you take algae tablets, certainly from us, because we grow it so carefully and we dry it so carefully, it's food. It is not a supplement. It's not produced with high heat. High heat will deactivate and damage nutrients.
Hmm.
So if you're eating green powders, they were mixed with high heat. So yes, they probably have
I don't like
spirulina and
those.
chlorella in them, but you're not getting the superoxide dismutase. So anyways, I do want to help you understand the science behind this whole process of creating cellular energy, because I have learned that when you don't understand something, it can be very fearful. And then when you're fearful, you feel out of control, right? When you
Yeah.
know something and you can see the steps, it's not as mysterious, it's not as weird. And then it opens you up to understand what really is going on. So then you can really have a roadmap to help you understand how to fix it or prevent it. So, we talked about how the spirulina or the mitochondria are generating the cellular energy inside the inside wall. Well, the mitochondria, as I mentioned, they have that inside wall, and that's exactly where the energy is actually being created. Now, the process is very interesting to create this cellular energy. It's called the electron transport chain. What is the electron transport chain? Well, it's very similar to a relay race. If you've ever watched a relay race, you know that there's runners and they have a baton and they run a distance and they pass the baton to the next runner. And then that runner runs a distance and passes it to the next person. And then hopefully they cross the finish line and win. Well, the same thing goes on in the process of creating your cellular energy, except instead of runners, you have these molecules. There's four of them. And instead of a baton, what's happening is the molecules pass electrons. So the speed at which the electrons can move from one runner to the next, one molecule, is what determines how much cellular energy, how much ATP is created. So you have these four molecules. Now you have two helper molecules along the way. One is called the cytochrome C molecule. It's right here. And the other one is CoQ10. You've probably heard of CoQ10, but you may not have heard of cytochrome C molecule.
Oh, we
So
talk about cytochrome C oxidase quite a bit here.
Oh,
because that's the
sweet.
one that makes water, deuterium depleted water, which
Yeah.
is crucial.
And it's the last step in the cellular production process. So this is what it should look like. The molecules are close together, just like the runners in a marathon or a relay race are close together. They pass on the baton. And so you get lots of electricity, lots of cellular energy generated at the end. But the problem is, when you have you're eating too many carbs, because carbs release more free radicals, or you're stressed, or you don't have this superoxide dismutase, what happens is your mitochondria start to get damaged. And as they get damaged, they expand. And when
spacing increases, that's
when they
heteroplasmy rate.
Exactly. So when they expand, so here's a healthy mitochondria. All the little molecules are close to one another. So those those runners can pass the electron to one another, get lots of ATP, no leakage of electrons. As the mitochondria expand because they're damaged, those runners are further and further apart from one another. So it's more and more difficult for them to make the pass. It's like asking Tom Brady to throw a pass in a stadium that's 4 times the size. So two things happen. Number one, they can't make the pass. So your cellular energy, your ATP production is decreased because they can't pass the electrons along. Number two, those electrons don't just disappear.
They get lost.
They leak out into the rest of the mitochondria and create further free radical damage. Those leaking electrons become free radicals. So So this is why when you start getting mitochondria damage, it's a downward spiral unless you can have an intervention, which superoxide dismutase, which you find in high concentrations of spirulina, can do. Here's a photo of a healthy mitochondria and a damaged mitochondria. You see all those spaces in the middle. That's because that's where all the leakage has occurred, so that the mitochondria electron transport chain isn't working properly. And this mitochondria will just keep expanding, and then will explode. So that superoxide dismutase is really, really critical for protecting the mitochondria from the free radical damage. I want to tell you about another important nutrient in spirulina, which is also very important for mitochondria health. It's this cytochrome C molecule that moves the electrons from the third runner effectively to the fourth runner. This is different from cytochrome C oxidase. This is cytochrome C. It's a separate molecule. And in a healthy cell, that cytochrome C molecule moves the electrons. It's like having a Tesla. Vroom. It just moves them along quickly. And the blue pigment in spirulina, which is called phycocyanin, I'm going to spell that for you, Phycocyanin. And I want you to know how to spell it because I want you to be able to Google it later on. So this blue pigment in phycocyanin activates that little helper molecule so it moves faster. This is one of the reasons why spirulina gives you energy. We call our spirulina EnergyBits for that reason, because it's, upside down, because it's very energizing. It energizes your brain, it energizes your body, and it energizes your mitochondria for a number of reasons. One, it heals the mitochondria because of the superoxide dismutase, but also the blue pigment speeds up that cytochrome C molecule so that it generates more energy for you. So that's one of the cool things about the blue pigment in spirulina, generating more energy because it speeds up that cytochrome C molecule. However, there's a flip side, and this is why I call spirulina intelligent food. First, you have to be intelligent to take it, and number two, it knows what to do in your body. So what does it do in your body? Okay, well, if it's a healthy cell, it speeds up that cytochrome C molecule. If it's an unhealthy cell or a cancer cell, it ejects it, and that cytochrome C molecule kills the cell. Cytochrome C, ejected cytochrome C, kills cells. They use it in chemotherapy. It's how they detect whether you have a tumor or a cancer by the amount of cytochrome C molecules in your blood, in your plasma. And here's I'm going to show you one of the many scientific papers, because if you Google phycocyanin and cancer treatments, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Phycocyanin kills cancer cells, and it's proven. And this is why they use it in cancer treatments. Here's an example. They put cancer cells, they dyed them purple, put them in a petri dish. Then they put phycocyanin in the petri dish, and in 24 hours, they measured how much of the cancer was still there. That's where it started. That's where it ended. Almost gone. Phycocyanin kills cancer cells because it ejects that cytochrome C molecule, which then kills both the cancer cell, or if it's a senescent cell. By the way, a senescent cell is a cell that is subdivided so many times that it is no longer functional. The DNA has gotten, it gets shorter every time you do a reproduction of a cell, and then it gets to the point where it can't be reproduced. And it doesn't die, it just hangs around, but it's inflammatory. So this is why
it's a cell that's chosen eternal life.
Yeah, right.
To its own detriment. I'm like, not good.
It's eternal, but it's like the bad witch. It's not doing good stuff for you. And this is why fasting is really good for you, or cryotherapy is really good for you, because it helps speed up the autophagy and the apoptosis of these senescent cells. Because as you get older, you just have more of them because you have more and more damaged cells because you lived longer. So you're full of this stuff. But this is why I really encourage people to do fasting. So this blue phycocyanin is Mother Nature's way of protecting us from cancer or other diseases because of this capability of it to eject the cytochrome C molecule if there is a cancerous or senescent cell. And it's so amazing to me that it does this automatically. But again, that blue pigment, and I've got scientific papers that prove this, it's deactivated by high heat. So once again, if you're going to, Costco or Target to get because it's cheaper to get your spirulina, you're missing the cancer killing capabilities and the protection of your mitochondria, which is what is leading to just about every single disease. And I tell people, look, I know you come to our website, a big bag of our algae tablets is of 1,000 tablets, it's $130, although we have a discount code for your listeners that brings it down to 104. But I want your community to know that if we recommend 10 spirulina in the morning, and I do want to talk about chlorella a bit, this will fill nutritional gaps, give you support for your mitochondria and everything else in your body. And if you took 10 tablets a day in the morning, because that's usually when you're tired or hungry and you want energy, it works out to $1 a day. $1 a day to protect your health. By the way, it will also replace protein, lots of your supplements you can get rid of. Please get rid of a fish oil, multivitamin, CoQ10. You don't need any of those. So it will save you money, and it's food. It's safe for your pets, your children, your teenagers, your grandparents. It's food. There's probably more nourishment in one tablet than your grandparents, if they're at a nursing home or assisted living, like my mother was, than that you get all week. So very, very nourishing. But at 10 tablets a day at $1 a day, like, why wouldn't you take this? And same with the chlorella. And I do want to talk about chlorella a bit because it's completely different than, has different attributes and benefits than the spirulina. But again, but if you have a condition, cancer, heart disease, or you're trying to be very proactive to prevent it, or then you want 30 tablets. And then just take them until you get a clear diagnosis, the 30. By the way, I take way more than that every day and have for 14 years. There is no upper limit to how many tablets to take. We have NHL players that take 75 spirulina before a hockey game because it gives them great focus and energy on the ice, which is what they need. And then they take 75 chlorella after a hockey game to pull out the lactic acid, because chlorella pulls out all toxins: lead, mercury, radiation, aluminum, lactic acid, alcohol, and removes them. So there's no upper limit because, again, it's food, but very nourishing, healing food. It's not the algae that's healing you. It's the nutrients that are found in the algae, if the algae is grown carefully and preserve the nutrients, because there's a lot of stuff out there where they're not preserving the nutrients, and that's why it's not working for you. Ours is so high efficacy. That's why we're the only algae that's sold by doctors, longevity clinics, functional medicine doctors, and we do third-party lab tests here, including microbiome test to make sure there's no toxins of any kind or microtoxins. So we're very proud of the way we grow it and preserve it, and we educate people. I'm the only person, I've been on 275 podcasts. I speak all over the country. We're trying to educate people on the nutrient value and the healing properties found in algae, because they know about it in Asia. It's just outside of Asia, nobody's aware of it because nobody's told you, and because it's not grown here. So that's what I'm doing, and that's what we're doing at EnergyBits, is helping people understand what algae is, why it's so critical for us at this stage in the world, because our food has zero nutrients in them anymore. The soils are so damaged. Even if you are eating vegetables, you're still missing the nutrients that your grandparents had. It's just not possible to get the nutrient density that we used to have. And then we're also filled with toxins, so the combination of lack of nutrition and excess toxins is what's caused this perfect storm of accelerated diseases and hormonal imbalances and cancer and heart disease. I mean, 1 in 2 people apparently are now predicted to get cancer in their lifetime, and that's just unacceptable to me.
Yeah, I agree. The cancer is a major issue. I have a question about the one that's supposed to help, the chlorella, helps with detox. Because I have a lot of people that use sauna in my community, if they wanted to take that in conjunction with sauna, would you have them take it before or after doing like a sauna session, a sweat session?
Yeah, that's a great,
better?
That's a great question. For most, if you're doing red light, because red light is great
Mm-hmm.
treatment as well, cryotherapy. In
Mm-hmm.
most times, we recommend the spirulina before any treatment because it gets absorbed so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And it does have chlorophyll in it. And by the way, chlorophyll and red light regenerate the CoQ10 molecule, which is that other helper molecule in the electron transport chain. So it also speeds up ATP. Chlorella takes a good hour and a half to fully get absorbed. So when we're working with spas and clinics where they have these biohacks, to make it easy for people, we say, well, take the spirulina before the treatment and the chlorella
30 minutes
afterwards.
before.
Yeah,
So
30 minutes, 15 even is fine because spirulina gets absorbed so quickly.
Mhm.
And then take the chlorella afterwards just to give them a protocol. But you
Like
could
right afterward, I know people are going to ask me.
yeah,
So
I would take the chlorella right after
right
the
after. Okay.
treatment.
Okay.
Spirulina, you could take it, 10 or 15 minutes before the sauna. You could
Mhm.
definitely take the chlorella before the sauna too, but then you're getting a lot of, yeah, people go, that's too many algae tablets, it's too much for me to take. So,
They wouldn't counteract one another, would
oh
they?
God, no, no. In fact, we have a brand. So this Chlorella we call ours Recovery Bits because it helps you recover your health. And as I mentioned, our spirulina is called Energy Bits because it gives you your mitochondria new energy. We have a third brand or fourth brand called Vitality Bits, which is a blend of the two algae. So that's
Mm.
another option. You could just take that before and then take
Both.
it also afterwards. Because chlorella it's a chelator. Spirulina is
Mhm.
not a chelator. It's cleansing
Right.
because of the chlorophyll, but it's not a chelator. By the way, I just want to show people how important chlorophyll is. Oh, I had a slide that showed you that chlorophyll is the same chemical composition of your hemoglobin. I can't seem to find it, but anyways, it is exactly the same. So chlorophyll builds your blood, and also chlorophyll kills bacteria. But yes, saunas are so great because toxins are removed from your body four ways: breath, sweat, urine, and bowel movements. So sweating is so, so important. That's why one of the many reasons exercise is so good. Obviously, it's good for just building muscle and stimulating the lymphatic system, but also for the sweating piece. So it's really, really important to sweat. So definitely. So if you have if there are practitioners that are listening, definitely get your clients to take the spirulina and, if possible, the chlorella before a sauna. But you could take this chlorella afterwards because it's sort of like I call it chlorella the cleanup crew. It goes around
Mhm.
and just pulls out all the toxins that have been released during any process. And if you don't want to take it before the treatment, oh, here's the slide I want to show you. Here's the chemical composition of your hemoglobin, and here's the chemical composition of chlorophyll. They're virtually identical. Your hemoglobin has iron in the middle, and that's what carries oxygen, and chlorophyll has the magnesium. But you can see they're almost identical. And this is why chlorophyll is so important for your health. And just like other things, our vegetables don't have enough chlorophyll like they used to. My
Mhm.
arugula goes yellow after 3 days because it didn't start with much chlorophyll. Algae, especially chlorella algae, it's called chlorella, by the way, because of the high chlorophyll, has the highest chlorophyll in the world, 500 times more than arugula and 25 times more than liquid chlorophyll. So it's very, very rich in chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is very, very cleansing. So you want to have chlorophyll for cleansing purposes. Unfortunately, chlorophyll's in both the algae, but the most is in the chlorella, which we call recovery bits. I've got canister here. This is what the chlorella. And I designed all the packaging. So to help people understand the difference, spirulina is a blue-green algae, which is why I packaged it in blue. And it came from the ocean. So it's kind of got a watery thing, and it's the one that's the bacteria rapid absorption. Chlorophyll is a plant. That's why there's a plant on the package. And it's a green algae. So blue-green spirulina, green algae for chlorella. And they're the most two healing foods in the entire universe. And you can't argue with 100,000 scientific papers. The problem is there's almost too much science about algae. So it's
Mhm.
been overwhelming for someone. I mean, it's taken me 14 years. I've probably read 3,000 of the 100,000 studies that are available. I'm just going to keep going. And I'm speaking next week at the American Naturopath medicine conference to help educate them about algae and spirulina and chlorella and healing properties for mitochondria. This nutrient, superoxide dismutase, and the blue pigment in the spirulina are probably the two most important ways, and natural and from food, that you could ever do. Most natural way for you to regain your mitochondria health. It's just food, but it has to be raw spirulina. It cannot be exposed to high heat, or you've just deactivated those two nutrients. But maybe you're taking the spirulina because you want to heal your mitochondria. But guess what? Your skin is going to improve. Your hair will get stronger. Your digestion will improve. Your energy will improve. Your hunger will go away. Your kids will be healthier. Your pets will have better, coats and fresher breath. There is no downside to taking spirulina or chlorella. The only thing I will say about chlorella, because it's a detoxing algae, you might have some detox symptoms, and they can be things like headache or slightly upset stomach, or some breakouts, but they will go away, and it's not the algae that's causing them. What the chlorella does is it pulls the toxins out of your cells or out of your bloodstream so they can circulate into the bloodstream and then be eliminated through sweat, breath, urine, or bowel movements. So while they're circulating, that's what's causing the detox symptoms. But once they're gone, they're gone. Spirulina is not a detoxing algae. You will not have those symptoms, but it's cleansing, but not a chelator like chlorella is. So every single person in the universe can tolerate spirulina, hands down. Newborns, pets, grandparents, 100-year-old grandparents, everybody should be taking spirulina. But we also encourage you to pair it with chlorella, because this is what's going to, we recommend the spirulina in the morning because that's when you're tired and hungry. And by the way, it does not interfere with fasting. It has 0 carbs, 1 calorie per tablet. If anyone's on the GLP-1, please take spirulina, because this has the highest protein in the world, 3 times the amount of protein as steak. And it's all in the amino acid form, 18 of the 20 aminos. Both of them have 18 of the 20 aminos, including the 9 your body can't make. It's a complete protein. Vegans, listen up. This is good for you. Carnivores, listen up. This is good for you too, because it has no lectins or oxalates. Anyone who knows about lectins and oxalates, they're sharp proteins that are found in plants, notice primarily in things like spinach and kale and nightshade vegetables. And what they do is the plants develop these evolutionarily to protect themselves from bugs and predators, because it does the same thing to their stomachs. Well, algae's from the ocean. Didn't have to protect itself. It's not a land plant. No lectins or oxalates. So carnivores, paleo, ancestral people, algae is for you too. It's not just for vegans, and it's low carb, low carb. Dr. Mindy Peltz endorses us because of it doesn't interfere with fasting. So, but we want you to take chlorella if possible, as well as the spirulina. And here's why. The high protein in spirulina requires extra water for your body to process it. So we want to be sure that you're getting regular bowel movements. And guess what? Chlorella stimulates bowel movements. We recommend you take chlorella before bed. Spirulina morning, afternoon, before a workout, because that's when you're tired and hungry and want energy. Chlorella, we want you to take it before bed. And here's why. Your body regenerates itself, recycles itself, cleanses itself while you are sleeping. So number one, because this is a detoxing and cleansing algae, it will facilitate that cleanse while you're sleeping. Chlorella also has something called chlorella growth factor, which speeds up the healing of your cells. So it improves the cellular repair. It also has the highest tryptophan in the world, which is a precursor to melatonin, which helps you sleep. So it won't make you sleepy, but it'll help you get into a deep sleep. And the combination of the hard cell wall, which attaches the toxins, and the high chlorophyll stimulate peristalsis, also known as a bowel movement. So you want to get rid of that junk in your trunk. And so if you are taking spirulina, and or even if you're not, chlorella is a great way to improve bowel movements. It's a combination of the fiber and the chlorophyll and some of the other nutrients that are in there. Constipation is not a topic that people are talking a lot about, but so many people are constipated. If you're eating dairy processed foods, if you're traveling, you're on medication, I can almost promise you, you're constipated. This will resolve the constipation, and it does it naturally. So whether you're wanting to improve your this issue of constipation, you want to have a better sleep, you want to have a better detox, you want to have a better cellular repair. It also stimulates stem cell release from your bone marrow. This is the way to do it. So this is why I talk about spirulina, because it has so many healing properties for mitochondria, and your brain has the most mitochondria. I refer to spirulina as brain food because it helps your brain and also your mitochondria. Chlorella, because it has all the nutrients that stimulate your immune system and heal your gut and help with detox and bowel movements. It's really much a wellness gut algae. And so the two of them work quite differently. Spirulina on the top, Chlorella in the bottom. So
Excellent.
you can see how they, and we do have, as I said, another product called Vitality Bits, which is a blend of them. By the way, I do want to mention that I started the company because my sister had breast cancer. So women's health has always been very important to me. And after a couple of years, I noticed women weren't buying the spirulina, and my girlfriends literally said, well, you got to make it pink and give it a cute name to attract women. And because it has more collagen in it than collagen powder, up to 400% more amino of some of the aminos, I designed a second brand of spirulina, called it Beauty Bits. But I'm not trying to trick anyone. I just want ladies to feel comfortable taking spirulina, pulling it out of your handbag, because we do sell them in these little pouches that people love to carry them with. We have the large bags. We also have these really cool canisters that come with a bag inside, and then you just shake them out a little opening in the lid, and then when you run out of tablets, you just buy a bag to replenish. But spirulina, there's two brands of the spirulina. Beauty Bits and Energy Bits are. So these are the ones for your mitochondria and for your brain, also really helpful for your skin and hair. Chlorella is the green package. This is the detoxing algae for for bowel movements and for gut health. And then the third one, the fourth brand is the Vitality Bits, which is the red package. And it's a blend of the two of them. So we're trying our best to help people learn how to protect their mitochondria, protect their longevity, protect their health, regain their health with something that's a gift to us from Mother Nature if it's grown carefully and all the nutrients have been preserved. And I've taken almost 15 years to ensure that that's what we've done, and also working very hard to educate people about what's going on in their body, because more people know about their cell phone than they do about their body. So once you know, you can't unknow. So so I hope this has been helpful.
Definitely. And I'm going to try these out. You guys were nice enough to send me some. So we're recording this here mid-August. I think it's going to air towards the end of October. So community members, feel free to follow up with me and ask me about my experience. I'll definitely give you an honest review when the episode airs. And yeah, it's been great to talk with you. And
we have a 20% discount code for your community. It works on all the products. The website is energybits.com, EnergyBits. The code is Sarah K, all one word, no space between the two of them. And it works on all the types of packaging, not subscriptions, but the individual purchases. And there's so it works all the time forever. So and if you have any doubt about whether you think you're a fit for the chlorella, because some people just don't like it, we sell them on Amazon for $6, and you can try it out for $6. And then once you feel comfortable with it, come back to the website and take advantage of the 20% discount, Sarah K. We want people to feel comfortable. Come to the website anyways, because we write a full blog every month, educating people, all science referenced. It's we're a small company, but we take a lot of pride in what we're doing. And we have so many testimonials of people's health improving, whether it's from, brain health, physical health. No more arguments with kids to eat their vegetables, because frankly, if you never have to eat another vegetable again, if you don't want to, if you are taking both the algae, you'll need both of them, because you need that fiber for the bowel movements. And my parting words would be to people: algae isn't new, it's just new to you. And you probably didn't know about bone broth or chia or kiwa or matcha or a lot of these other food groups that have been used by indigenous countries or peoples in countries around the world for centuries. So is algae. It was used by the Egyptians, the Aztecs. It's been used safely daily in Asia for 60 years. And it's a multi-billion-dollar agricultural crop, but there's been no incentive to educate people outside of Asia because 99% of it that's grown in Asia is consumed in Asia. So we're here to help you learn about something that is effortless, safe, pure, and proven to protect your health, and it's done it with food. So give it a shot.
Excellent. Yeah. And just we'll have the links down in the show notes for anybody who wants to look into it deeper. And yeah, thank you so much for being here today and chatting. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. We're on the algae train. Algae love is what we call
Absolutely.
it. Thank you, Sarah.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to the Evolving Wellness Podcast. Just a quick little reminder, this is not medical advice nor meant to be taken as a substitute for working one-on-one with a healthcare practitioner. And if you enjoy the show, please head on over to Apple or Spotify to leave the show up to a 5-star review. If you're over on YouTube, please leave us a like, leave us a comment. I really appreciate you for being here, for listening to the show, and your support means the world to me as I continue to try to pull guests from around the world to bring you informative content to empower you to make decisions about your own health. Thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.